Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back. I am so freaking excited to be back doing YouTube videos. This is the first one I've been able to do since the middle of December when I moved home. And I am super excited to introduce who we are going to be having on with us today. Today we are going to be having Galactic Girlie Chats with myself and the beautiful Helen Golden, who has joined me. Helen is actually the winner of our Conscious Conversation competition. She put in an application to do a video with me or an Instagram live with me, and her subject is one of my favourite subjects ever to speak about, and she wanted to speak about the galactics. So first and foremost, Helen, welcome.
Hi Lucy, thank you so much. A great honour to be the winner of the competition, and my subject was the galactics. I probably had about 4 subjects, but I felt that this was one that really needed to be touched upon. I think, especially with what's going on right now, I think it's a really good time.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, honey. I actually do not think that there could have been a better time for this to take place, because we're starting to see things trickle through the media. We're seeing a lot of things on social media, but through the mainstream media, we're starting to see the little trickles taking place. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So first and foremost, talk to me. Let's hear a little bit about you. Who are you, Helen? Let's hear a little bit about you, because I'd love all of my followers to get to know you first.
So yes, my name's Helen, and it's actually my birthday in 2 days. I don't know whether that will be, so this is a great birthday present for me. So I've been excited about this for the last week. A little bit about me. So I met Lucy through this year, through our mutual wanting to work about saving the children. Yeah. So, but that started with me many years ago. I think when I first found out about how awful the BBC was, what was going on there, and that kind of information stuck with me for years, and I didn't really know who to talk to about it. But so that's how I met Lucy. But the other thing about it is that when you look into many what I'd say holes, truths, or things like that, it all kind of leads back to huge areas of the past, history. Where did it all come from? Who are these people doing this? And many rabbit holes always went back to sort of like good versus evil, just the main things around where did the evil come from. And I think we may have heard years ago a guy who used to talk about reptilians, and I kind of believed that back then as soon as he was talking about it. And I think going forward, that always kept me looking for more answers around where we came from. Are there aliens out there? The films that I always used to watch, things like Star Trek, Star Wars. I just felt so excited by those types of things. And I kind of used to keep those things to myself and not really talk about, but I'd look into history, the pyramids, it all interlinks. It's just undeniable. So that's where sort of like my past comes from. And as a child, lately I've been thinking more about myself as a child. Like I was really in tune with things like this when I was little. And I think if we really all look back, we kind of realize that when we're children, a lot of our answers come from there.
Yes.
So it was just knowing that I immediately loved space, and I loved the stars, and I loved, I used to sit with my older brothers and watch, like I said, the old Star Trek, and I was fascinated. So I think I always just felt like there was more.
Yeah.
And I kept that sort of curiosity going out through my growing up. And I've always watched, people like Corey Good and stuff like that, and just keeping myself interested. But like I said, the more and more things they all became connected. So every rabbit hole you go down, which I've been down many, and some are very, very painful to see.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the fight between good versus evil.
Yes.
And yes, extraterrestrials, past lives, good and bad, and it all seems to be interlinked. So that's kind of a little bit about myself when it comes to my past and interest in the galactics. But I'd say I then had a very normal life, working hard, loads and loads of friends, going on holidays, normal partying, stuff like that, and kind of forgot about all of that until about 10 years ago. I feel like that's when I started picking up the books again.
Yeah.
And, you know, things like the Celestine Prophecy, which I know that you've been talking about recently. And starting to really think that, again, we have a lot more control in our consciousness. Synchronicities in my life started happening again. Again, all very, very, it all is very interlinked. So I hope that sort of tells you a little bit about myself and why I like the galactics.
Yeah, it does, babe. And actually something that you touched on, I would just like us to go and revisit, because there may be a lot of parents out there that are like, my child is crazy. It has invisible friends. It tells me stuff about other lives. I have a lot of women messaging me on a day-to-day basis saying, my child has told me that it was killed in X war. My child has told me she remembers doing X, Y, and Z. And these women are reaching out to me because obviously they know that I'm a safe space to have these discussions. Yet there are a lot of children being born into families that have no awareness of this. Well, it's not that they don't have awareness of it. It's the fact that they've been dulled down and they've just forgotten about it. And I just want to touch on children and invisible friends, but I also would just love to touch on, there will be some people that watch this video and say, I don't believe in interdimensional beings. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. Now, I want to give a really blunt answer to anybody that's watching, because I am blunt and everybody knows me to be blunt. But maybe you can give your perspective as well. From my perspective, it would be extremely ignorant of us to think that we are the only race, the only species that are alive in this universe, from my perspective. You know, I feel that we are surrounded. Well, I know that we are surrounded. I know firsthand, and we'll get to that in a little bit later. But, you know, what's your take on that, babe? To anybody that is out there going, I'm not sure I believe in any of this, what would you say to those people?
So I think this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because we can't deny that we are the only people that exist in this entire universe. Not only are we not the only ones, there are millions and millions and millions and billions of planets, and there's probably millions of habitable planets. And there's also going to be lots of different species, aliens, whatever you want to call it. And some of them are going to be very human-like as well. And this is the truth. Like, I personally have seen a UFO in about 2008 as well. And I was with a group of 10 friends as well. And we all saw it.
Yeah.
And not only we see it, but so did everybody down the street, who we were then all in the street looking up, saying like, oh my God, did you all see that?
Yeah.
So back then, I didn't have an iPhone or an Android phone or something like that I could just pick up. Although I had a phone, it kind of still wasn't the something we would do. So none of us captured it. And as I've seen more and more videos of other ones, it was exactly what we saw. I've seen it again and again and again. So that, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I know this. This is just normal. Yes. But we can't now just say that we're the only people in this universe at all.
No. And actually,
we're going to get a bit of an awakening.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, I'm going to come back to it later on. A lot of people say to me, Lucy, how are we going to live 3-dimension and 5th dimension, like in one environment? And I actually think us talking about interdimensionals and the galactics, ETs, aliens, whatever you want to call them, I actually think that this is going to be a really good insight into people and how they will see the future of the world coming, because everything, as we've spoken at length on Babe, you know, you and I are so linked because of our, you know, we've done the protesting, we've been there together, we've been on the front line, we've used our voice, we've used our social media. Some of us have been blocked from social media, and I know your partner gets blocked very regularly. So, you know, I like, we are part of that front line. We are so passionate about the ascension of humanity that we know all of this stuff needs to come to the surface, which is why we are doing it. It's not because we want to cause trouble. It is because we know we have to go through this process to be able to help people the other side. And I think I know the galactics, ETs, interdimensionals, whatever you want to call them, are pivotal to this. Pivotal, because I do feel that they are looking after us. They are giving us their wisdom right now. They're protecting us. There are some, as you mentioned earlier, like about the reptilians and stuff, you know, there are some that are leading people astray. You know, they're creating addictions in people, they're pulling people back to a lower dimensional frequency. However, there is also a lot of the angelic beings and the higher vibrational beings that are really helping us right now. And it's just time for us to surrender and say, okay, let's just go on this journey, let's do what we need to do so that then we can coexist. And I'm going to say the word early, even though I shouldn't say it this early, I'm sure, but for me, the last place where we could all coexist was Atlantis. My knowledge, or the information that I channel, the last place that we coexisted was Atlantis. So I'll make sure that I write that on my notepad as well, and we'll perhaps come back and loop back into that in a little bit. So just another question I've got for you, to anybody out there with children who have invisible friends, or maybe they are having these conversations with their parents, like, bearing in mind you and I are both, like, we were so woke as kids, we then put ourselves to sleep, but we were so woke as kids. What would you be saying to those parents right now? And I've just got goosebumps as I've just spoken about this, so it's obviously something that we need to speak about. What would you be saying to those parents?
Well, I would think, rather than say, don't be so stupid, of course it's not, it's like, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What did you see? And what did they say? Maybe just, I'd love to hear more about this.
Yeah.
Rather than just shutting children about anything, because once you shut children down, it has an effect on them. And it's about letting your children now have an imagination. And I think that's going to be allowing to have their imagination and accepting them for who they are, and accepting what they see, hear, feel, and almost celebrating it with them. And actually, you can learn from them as well. Like, tell me what you see, tell me what you hear. That's fascinating. That's amazing. This is, you know, it might even trigger something that maybe you had when you were younger. Because I don't know about you, Lucy, but coming up from my past, that a lot lately in my dreams and stuff. So it's quite likely that you might be certain things about yourself. But if you've got children, let them speak. Let them have a voice. Let them have fun.
Another top tip I've actually got for
encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely, babe. Another top tip I've got actually is get them to draw what they see. That's something that I get to do with my little sisters. I encourage them to do it, and I've actually just in the last few days bought them a sacred geometry colouring book. And when I gave it to them, one of the twins opened it up and she stopped at this one particular picture and she went, and I was like, that's what it was supposed to do, because they are resonant with certain things like that. So rather than, and I think, Helen, you've nailed it, rather than shut them down, allow the flow. What does it look like? What color is it? How do they speak? You know, did they, you know, literally just ask questions, be really inquisitive, almost be childlike with your child. Allow your inner child to flow. What color was it? Was it blue? Was it gray? You know, just if you need to prompt. I mean, my little sister used to tell me that she had a man that slept under her bed. So I said to her, talk to me, tell me what he looks like. But it wasn't a man, it was an interdimensional being. And I actually got her to draw. He had no hair on his body at all, and he was very protective and very, very tall. And we ended up drawing it, and it's just incredible, because if it had been either of her parents, they would have been like, what are you talking about? Of course you don't have a man under your bed. And, you know, she was like, but I'm scared of him. And I said, well, have you asked him if he's here to hurt you or if he's here to protect you? And she said, no. So what did she do the next time she asked? And he said, I'm here to protect you. So instantly that's gone, you know. And I think there's so many ways that we can explore this with parents, and we need to normalize this stuff. We need to normalize it. Everything that we see in the movies, everything that we see, you know, drawn and whatever, and the emojis that we've got and stuff, the reason they are like that is it's not just based off of imagination, it's based off of our wisdom that we're pulling from past lives or wherever we've been before. What's your take on that, Helen?
Yeah. Well, that's another subject that so many people think this is our one life, that's it, you know, only live once and that's over. But that's completely untrue. We've probably been here hundreds, some people thousands of times over the years, sometimes in human form, sometimes could be in animal form, could be in a different, like, alien form. And one thing is that we have one soul that continuously gets reincarnated. So I believe that hugely. I think as well, when you're a child, you can have some, you know, we've all heard the stories that a child will say, oh, I was buried there, when they drove past something. There is stories like that. You have certain feelings to certain things. Like, I know I feel that the moment I was born, like, I loved animals. There was and cats in particular.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not something that just happens. That's something from previous lives, habits that you've had. So reincarnation is something that we've had many, many times but there are newer souls as well.
Yeah.
And there are also souls that maybe haven't been human and they may come into the world and find it very, very difficult to be human.
Yeah,
and that can cause them maybe feel.
Yeah, I've actually had a couple of clients.
It can be.
I've had a couple of clients that are brand new
and
into
sometimes
human
children,
body.
and they can't. That's where you see maybe behavioural problems and things like that in children, because there are things with starseeds, indigo children, light workers. That's some names that maybe some people haven't heard before, have heard before, and think, well, that's just a load of rubbish. Well, some of us have come on missions. Some of us have chosen to come at this time. I've definitely realized that. And when you realize that, and the certain activations that you get, it's actually the truth is, it's quite exciting.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I can't say more than that. I guess I could blurt out a lot, but reincarnation is real as well. So there's loads of information on that.
And I totally,
past lives.
Yeah, what just like, and I love the way that you've articulated it. We must recognize that just because we're a human right now doesn't mean that we haven't been something else before. So if aliens or anything like that resonate with you, like they resonate with me, they resonate with Helen, they resonate with many of you out there, if it resonates with you, chances are you have an appreciation, you have a level of consciousness around it, because maybe you've been there before, or maybe you've done whatever. The other thing that I just want to say about the children before we move on is I've actually got one of my self-love club members. She's become amazing, and I'm not saying she wasn't amazing before, but she's become extremely amazing with her child, and she will often send me little voice notes from him explaining what he sees from an alien perspective and updates that he's getting, because he knows he can resonate with my soul on that level. So she'll like put him on a voice note. Wow. He's only, I don't know, maybe 6, 7. And she'll put him on voice note to me, and he'll be like, hi, vegan, because that's what he calls me. And then he just like chats about whatever he's seen or whatever messages he's got from the aliens. So please do encourage it. Please do encourage it. There are many people out there that are probably going to watch this and be like, these two need to be locked up. Please just drop into your heart space rather than live in your head space. Drop into your heart space with this conversation. And if you've had a child that has come out with something like that, maybe just go back and revisit it. If you can possibly bring it back up, go back and revisit it would be my option. So really, Helen, your I'm not going to call it an obsession, but your fascination with the galactics has been from a very young age, yeah? And so how do you feel about this news that's been coming through the mainstream media that there is going to be UFO disclosures? How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel excited about it, I'm not going to lie. It's been something that's needed to happen for a long time. And I just want people to know that it's not a bad thing. It's actually an amazing thing. And I think as the films of the past and the way that we've been manipulated to believe that invasions of a certain kind, they want to take over and annihilate us. And that's the programming that we've had. It's exciting because so much has been kept from humanity and kept us on a 3D level. Yeah. The reason why they're going to be coming is because they're here to help. In fact, they've been here a long time. There's lots of again, amazing good ones. There's going to be some people on the bad side too. And I think that when we finally get to see what's going on, this will help humanity be able to ascend to they're here to do. They're helping us to ascend. They want humanity to move on the way we're meant to, and we've been held back for a very, very long time. And things are starting to play out now. And this is why more people are waking up, and we're starting to realize something's not right, or I feel a bit different about things. So please don't be afraid. I'm excited that it's coming, and I'm sure it's going to be done in the right way to make sure that there's not mass hysteria as well. But just stay open-minded, because that's the word that we're going to keep using. Stay open-minded, and just know that there's people that you can reach out to. If you need to. There's lots and lots of information. I'll start doing some research now. You're not just taken by surprise. So
yeah, absolutely. And I love it because I actually want to go on to the sightings now, if that's okay, because I know that both of us have had sightings. You obviously mentioned back in 2008. Have you had any sightings more recent than that, or is it just that one?
I've only had that one. I know of more, but I watch stuff, and it's very exciting. There was a recent one I've just been researching on in Hawaii just over the last couple of days, and some really vivid pictures from that.
Yeah.
And yes, they're definitely real pictures. It was a big. It looked like it disappeared into the sea. So there was questions around whether there's a sort of like an underground base, which again is another touch upon what's going on underground.
Well, we know that Hawaii is essentially Lemuria, right? So there's that real Lemurian energy there. And as I keep saying, this is the rebirth of Atlantis, and obviously Atlantis and Lemuria were back in the same era. So it doesn't surprise me that stuff is going on over there. Interestingly, I've had a few clients in Hawaii recently, and they're saying that the energy shifts taking place are just absolutely mind-blowing. You know, it's really, really interesting. So I want to share, for anybody that doesn't follow me on my Instagram, I actually had a really interesting scenario. So I've seen a couple of UFOs in my time. I ask and then I see. It's as simple as that. That's the kind of level that I'm at, where I can just say, show me that you're out there, like just know that you can check in with me, and then I will see them. And actually some of my self-love club members in my free group on Facebook before I got kicked off, they were showing the images of where the UFOs were coming in. So lots and lots of sightings are taking place, like literally just in a group on Facebook, we're all just sharing this. But what happened, I'm going to share what happened in my new house literally a couple of weeks ago. And I went out for a run one morning, and rather than do my normal route, which was kind of like on the dry roads and stuff like that, I went into the forest and I literally stumbled across this, and I know you saw it on my Instagram stories, but I stumbled across this massive, literally it was just a circle in the middle of nowhere, and I'm stood there and I'm like running, and I ran past it, and I'm like, hang on, that doesn't make any sense at all. There was no track in, there was no track out in any direction, and literally I walked around the whole thing, but yet there was like an exterior and then there was like an interior smaller circle, and I was like, something feels a bit interesting here. And I actually asked the question, I took a load of photos, and then as I continued my run, I asked the question, and I was like, can you give me guidance as to whether that was interdimensional beings? Now, I've actually had physical interaction with Palladians predominantly, and so I can tap into that energy pretty quickly, and I know we're going to talk about the Galactic Federation and stuff in a minute, but I can tap into that level. Now, the reason I can tap into that level is because I've been doing the work on my frequency. And as I was saying at the beginning, hopefully this will give you a little bit of calm about what's taking place with us. I can interact with things that are seventh plus dimension because they can lower their frequency and I can up my frequency. So we kind of like meet in the middle. Now, there's people out there, and I know there's so many people out there that are like, oh my God, I'm never going to see my family again if I'm fifth dimension. No, that's not the way that it's going to be. But what's going to happen is we're going to ascend as much of the planet as possible. As this is why we are offering the tidbits of truth. We're offering ascension guidance. We're offering these kind of videos so that you go, hang on, I need to research this. There's something in this. And it's through that we will be able to meet these beings in the middle. It's as simple as that. So I'm not, as far as I'm aware, 7th, 9th, 10th dimension, and then I drop down into the third. I believe that I'm in like 4th/5th. I drop down to the third, but then I can go up and meet these Palladian beings. So obviously I was carrying on my run, and I'm there going, just give me some insights, like let me know if this is what it is. And I got sign after sign after sign after sign, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then that night I was like, I would really like to see a sighting of a UFO. And I've got this like little walkway near my house, which is just kind of like round, like a kind of near the river but round a lake kind of thing. And I went on that and I saw a UFO. So it's fascinating what is taking place at the moment. They want us to communicate with them. They want to help us. I truly, truly believe that. And there are so many people coming out now, right, talking about it.
Yeah, actually, just saying on that, some of the, obviously I research a lot, and the reason why we're going to start actually seeing more, and you touched upon it's because you ask, is as I don't know if you've seen the Schumann frequency resonance, as the vibration of the planet is getting more and more stronger, people are waking up, and we are, if our consciousness is waking up a bit more, we are then able to summons more of the extraterrestrials to come in, because we're asking for it more, basically. So our thoughts and what we ask for, like you said, that's why we will see more. Yeah. So if it's starting to happen, it's because we are allowing it to happen, because we are helping the ascension as we raise our vibration.
You're exactly right.
That's amazing.
You've absolutely nailed it. And something I just want to go back to about the UFO disclosures before I forget is the reason they are saying, oh my God, this is scary, is because they don't want you to ascend. They don't want your physical body to be vibrating at that frequency where you're like, screw it, I want to meet one of them. Like, I actually want to connect with these people. I actually really want to speak to them. I want to understand what their thought processes are, you know. And it is a program. It is fear that they are holding us in. They want us to panic, exactly like everything else that's going on at the moment. It is this battle, as Helen keeps beautifully saying, it's good versus evil. It's good versus evil. So what we are doing here is we're saying, look, here's the information, go and research it for yourself. This will help you on your journey. The bad guys, let's call them the bad guys for now, they are the ones saying, don't do that. No, you're going to be scared of those people. They're going to take everything from you. They're the ones that did this to you in the first place. Now, I don't know how you feel on this, Helen, and it's not something that me and you spoke about talking about, but I'm going to throw it out there because I know that we're on one with this now. But I feel that probably about 80%, if not more, probably 100%, but I'm going to say 80% to be liberal, of the population have hybrid DNA. So what I mean by that is, for me, I know that I am part human, part interdimensional. I know that. Like, I just know that from my blood type through to the insights that I get and the knowledge that I've got and the feelings that I've got. What's your thoughts on that, Helen? Do you feel that everybody's the same, or do you think that, it's 50-50?
I don't think everybody's the same. I think you're right. I've been doing a bit of reading on the DNA and stuff as well. So it's quite normal, the fact that we will have different DNAs from different beings, from what I've been researching. And I know, like, I haven't just read one book, I've read a few things, and then I've looked at a few things, and yes, one person might say something different, but if you really want to find out, I totally agree with you there. Like, it just again makes sense. And again, we should be open-minded and not be scared if we do have different DNA inside of us. That means that we've got, and 80%, I wouldn't be surprised as well.
Yeah, it's funny because I
Be.
always used to think
So
it was probably more 50-60%, but recently I'm like, no, everybody's got something in them. And I just want to touch on it. If you ever believe that you've got reptilian in you, for example, that doesn't mean that you're bad. Like everything, there's good and bad people. There's good and bad horses. There's good and bad dolphins, I would imagine. I don't know. They're all pretty angelic to me. But from my perspective, there is going to be a positive and a negative charge in every single race. And it's exactly the same. What we have been controlled by, and this is why people believe that aliens are bad, is a subset of people that have abused their reptilian brain, because it's very similar to the human brain, and they vibrate at the fourth dimensional frequency, which is how they've been able to suppress us in 3D. So they have been able to figure out how our brain works, manipulate us, hold us in a space that's really made us struggle to ascend. Now, a lot of people I speak to say this is about an election that's taking place at the moment. I don't know about you, Helen, but I think I can speak on behalf of us, both of us, when I say this is nothing to do with an election. This is about ascension. This is about humanity. This is about people waking up to the potential of actually what they are. There is so much more to it, Helen. Would you agree?
yeah, agreed. And actually, I don't know about you, but this lockdown has actually, whatever the reason that they locked us all down, which, yes, I do believe in, there is a virus. I'm not sure it's anywhere near as bad as what they've made out, but whatever their agenda was to do this, so you've got people who are finding it really difficult and maybe spending their time keeping in a low vibration. But I don't know about you, but I think it's woke a lot of people up, and people the time to find out and research and feel these. If you're always at work every day, you can't feel, hang on a minute, what's this ringing in my ears constantly? And these are downloads. These are things like the different energies. What is this I'm feeling? And more than anything, you are able to use this time to get into your flow.
Yes.
And I think you've seen that thousands. This is people who've been waking up on the thousands. So whatever the agenda was for that, and then this election and what's going on there, and why we've all been locked down, and who's winning over what, and which, we won't touch upon that right now, but
Let's
that's
not.
happening hugely at the moment as we're
That's
filming this. This couldn't be more of a moment. I know. So it's again, there's a good side that's controlling one part of it, and a bad side that's controlling another. And there are interdimensional beings who are part of both sides.
Yes.
And that's what we need to realize. So this isn't just one president versus another president. This is a huge lot more than this.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, it's beautiful the way that you've said it, because I agree with you. This was never about what they've said that this is about. This lockdown was never about that, ever. As soon as I sat with this information, this was it's time to wake the masses. Literally, that was the message that I got. It's time to wake the masses. And, you know, I know that me and you didn't know each other back then, but February 2020, I did this Facebook Live. It went viral because I was like, listen, this is what I channeled 3 years ago. I'm going to be straight with you guys. This is what I've seen happening. And of course, over the months, it's all started to unfold. It's never been about an election. It's never been about a virus. I truly believe that this was released to suppress us, to keep us in a low vibrational frequency. Instead, it's backfired, and everyone started to question. Everybody started to awaken. Everybody's gone, hang on a minute. And then we've been at home more, so we've been on social media more, which means we've been able to connect with each other more. There's been more protests taking place, so of course it needed to happen. You know, protests about the virus, protests about freedom, protests about the children, protests about the G, you know, all of that stuff. Like, there's been protests about everything. And what has that done? Even, you know, when we know that some of the rallies have been you know, rituals, and not in a positive way, in a negative way, even though we know that, what they've done is they've brought a force to be reckoned with together. They have brought a group of people who are not going to take anything from anyone. They are going to stand up. They are going to speak in their truth. And actually, we're a great example of that. Since August, when we first met, like, we've spoken every week, at least every single week, at least, if not more than that. Yeah. You know, so like, that is what this is about. It's about us woke souls finding each other so that we can help the planet ascend, so that we can live comfortably with these interdimensionals. I really feel we're going to learn so much from them, you know.
Absolutely. And it's the technologies and everything that we know right now will change, from the way that healing, medicine, the powers that we'll find that we have within ourselves.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very big change, but it's only ever going to be the better. Like, there's going to be ways of healing people that we can't even imagine, and that technology exists. It already exists on this planet, underground somewhere. Yeah. Again, the dark side have suppressed so much, and when we realize they've made many people ill over the years with many different things, but we'll have the ability to be able to heal the people from other planets. The Galactic Federation are here to help and support and help us ascend and actually be the humans that we're meant to be.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you've just touched on the Galactic Federation, because that's where I wanted to go next. So for people that have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, or maybe they do have a little bit of knowledge, give us your perspective on the Galactic Federation, please, honey.
So the Galactic Federation, I'm being honest, I don't know how many different people are part of that, but there's, you touched on the Palladians. Yeah. So if you think about, I always think about it as the Galactic Federation is almost like the Star Trek Federation, where there's interdimensional beings who are following the law of the universe to ensure that things are done and in the right way, for example. And one of the things that I know has happened over the years is that, for example, they won't allow us to blow ourselves up. They want a nuclear war in this world. And they very much came to light during sort of like the Russian missile contest back in the 80s, where they actually stopped all the nuclear missiles. They literally have the technology to be able to stop it. So they have always been watching over us. I listened to a few different people who have said they talk to the Galactic Federation quite regularly, and they are here to help humanity. But they some people will say, well, why don't they come to Earth straight away? Like, why can't we just see them? Because there's a law, that a universal law that doesn't just allow galactic beings to just be seen without us inviting them to see them. So they're like an invisible force that's always there.
Yeah.
And they ensure that, I would say they ensure that we are, what's the word? Running to the best of our ability. But you'd say, well, they're not doing a very good job because there's lots of evil going on in the world. But again, they're fighting against the evil. So it's this difficult one. I'm sure you can put it a little bit better because you speak to the Palladians, and I know there's a Palladian account as well that you might know.
Yeah, absolutely. So from my perspective, I think that you've given a really good example, actually. What I see, because I'm actually part of the Galactic Federation, I actually sit on the council. I didn't know this years ago, but in the last couple of years, I'm sat in a board meeting kind of set up, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I'm not in my human body. And through my work with the quantum, I've actually been able to establish that is where that's, it's just one of my roles. And it is definitely a council of all beings, humans, or every different being in the universe. They go there, like, it's massive. It's a massive amount of people. If for humans to comprehend it, let me explain. You remember when everyone went into Europe and they would meet, and every single country would have representatives, and that's what it feels and it looks like in the meetings that I've been present with the Galactic Federation. Now, please do remember, it's only been the last couple of years that I've remembered this. I know that I've done it before because my quantum healer used to say, yeah, you were at that meeting. And I'm like, I've got no clue what you were talking about. But it's in the last couple of years I've actually allowed my brain. I must have been scared. The only reason we don't remember stuff is because we switch off to it. So so it's basically all the different breeds, races, and there are so many of them. There are so many of them. A lot of people will know about the Anunnakis. A lot of people will know about the Greys, the Palladians, the Syrians. People could be reading off lots of different ones right now, but trust me, there are so much more than that. And essentially what this council is it is to make sure that everybody is being looked after in the best possible way. And I don't mean we're going to, wipe your backside and we're going to give you money. No, it's about growth. This whole journey is about growth. And that is why some people are slightly more ahead than others, because they are calling in that wisdom. It's not a competition. We are all exactly the same. Literally, you guys can tap into the Palladians, you can tap into absolutely anything. I'm going to share a quick story because I think it's actually quite prevalent for now. I actually went to POTUS Red, let's call him that, about, I don't know, maybe about 8 months ago now, and he was actually in his grey body. So when I've been to him, he's been a grey and I was Palladium. And it was very interesting. I've met with him a number of times and we've had fantastic conversations about stuff. And I've maybe shared it with one or two people and they're like, oh my God, this has come true. And it's extremely interesting. I truly believe that there are people that have been placed on this planet right now that are key light workers, key starseeds, that are slipping between realms. And I'm not saying a walk-in, I'm talking about they're slipping between realms, doing multiple roles. And that's what I feel he has done. I may get shot down for that, but that's what I feel he has done. And the conversations that we have had, I've literally woken up and been like, oh my goodness, that fills me with so much hope. Yeah. And it's interesting because I've been teaching my Self-Love Club members how to communicate telepathically since March of last year. And actually now I've probably got 5 of my members that they call me up and they're like, okay, so one of the recent examples is, okay, so last night I was with, is it Melania or Milana? How you say his wife's name? I don't know. I was with Milana and you were with old Red POTUS. And I'm like, how the hell do you know that I was with him? like, because I remember being with him, but I don't remember you being with her, you know, and I'm having this a lot with my members now, and it's because we've literally just gone, okay, let's surrender to this, let's see what's happening. And it's beautiful. I don't feel fearful in the slightest. And maybe that's where my calm through the whole of this process has been from. And I know you're super calm as well, babe. You know, maybe that's what it is because we've got this undeniable faith that we have surrendered to, that literally anything is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been more calm in my life as I am right now, and just trusting. And the last few months, it's chaos in some areas, but just knowing there's an inner calm that comes to you when you open up to and not afraid to look into what your truth is.
Yes.
And this is where, like, I was hoping that this uh, would help others to maybe just realize that too, that it's not just about elections. There's higher powers that are, they're looking after us. They are looking after us. They've been following this the whole way. They've been looking after how it's working. Mr. Red would have needed a lot of help. He would not have been able to take down the whole of the evil cabal on his own, just with his people. He would have needed a lot of help, and that's where it's come from. So I know there's another company, sort of, not company, there's a thing called TLS, the light system, as well. There's a worldwide branch as well, which is, I know that they're a secret organization that work with the galactics as well as the people in this world, and they've been doing a lot of work to try and in the background, and I think they've been doing a lot of the work with the children and rescuing the children. Is that I think that's correct.
Yeah, it is, babe. And it's, what's so interesting about that is, obviously, you know that I'm good friends with Charlie Ward, and I've done some of his shows and stuff like that. And he's actually, his intuition called me onto a call with Jason Shirker when he first came out. I was like one of the first people to be on an interview with him. And yes, you know, they are extremely powerful. They've got a beautiful insight. You know, I feel as if the time is right now for this all to be coming to the surface. And I mean, everybody must do right. There's a lot of people coming out speaking about it now. People are obviously dropping into their vulnerability. They're putting their neck on the line. You know, like, people used to think I was absolutely batshit when I used to talk about this stuff, but now people are like, tell us your stories. Because that's, like, I'm really blessed I get to experience this cool stuff, you know, and not everybody does. Like, people have a fascination with it or whatever, but they don't get to experience it, and it's amazing to experience it, you know. But it's even more amazing that we can sit here and openly communicate about it now, because for me, this is what the world needs, you know. And yes, you've got amazing people like Jason, you've got Laurie, you've got Elizabeth April, you've got all of these incredible people out there that are talking to the galactics and talking to these kind of beings and sharing the information. But you know, we do need people to start coming forwards now and saying, hey, yeah, I've had a sighting, or, because then it gives confidence to the other people. It really does give confidence to people to normalize this stuff, right? Because there is no way that we are the only race on this planet, you know, let alone in the universe. One of the things I did want to say,
and like you said, you touched upon earlier that,
go on.
Yeah. Sorry, you touched upon earlier about some people, some of the things that we're even talking about. There's going to be so many people going, oh, that's a load of rubbish, or especially when you talk about that they need to be locked up. But I think that will get less and less.
I do too.
I'm hoping that friends of mine who have never even heard me talk about stuff like this will actually want to reach out to me rather than rib me about it. But
which they will.
This will be the norm. Yeah, this will be the norm. So very exciting times.
That's what all of this is about. That's what all of this is about. It's making all of this normal. Now, to your point earlier, when you said the galactics can't just arrive here, Let's just look at this, and this may trigger some people, but I'm doing this for a reason right now. Imagine if tonight we all went out of our houses at 8 p.m, we walked down the road and we all bumped into an alien. What would we do? Some of us, like myself, would be like, yay! Other people would call the police. Other people would beat it. Other people would cry. Other people would run away. We are not ready as a race to accept them yet, which is why they communicate to certain people. This is my own perspective. And the reason I believe this is, look at things like BLM. Look at the division.
Yeah.
You know, and we have been living with each other for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. So if we cannot accept each other, which is why all this stuff needs to come to the surface, if we cannot accept each other, how are we going to accept things with no hair, with no eyebrows? They don't need to speak because they can telepathically read your mind. Like, imagine that. And I truly believe that all of this is happening in divine timing so that we can awaken and then allow these other beings in. What's your thoughts on that, Helen?
I totally agree with you, because it's not only that as well, it's just, I believe most people would be scared to the point where they thought that too scared it would make them ill, how scared they would be. They'd be thinking that they just watched one of those films 10 years ago where they annihilated the world. Aliens came down, and just, it's too much for people. And that's why I may have heard that aliens have come over the years and spoken to certain world leaders, and they've said it's not time. Maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe we've got to be very careful the way it's done. And I think with everything that's going on and the way that our lives have just been turned upside down, if we were just going on our daily lives like normal, going to work 9 to 5, same stresses, same this, we wouldn't even be open to this. And we would be the sort of people that would, it wouldn't fit into something different happening. What's happening now is putting us into such a place where we're going to need to be opened up. And because nothing is this way it used to be. The other thing is, the reason why a lot of aliens don't just come to Earth is because if you think back to maybe it was the 50s and stuff, where you heard about Area 51 and where all the aliens, crashed and stuff like that. There's been many times that the aliens have actually been caught on this world, and some of the evil people of this world actually will kill the aliens. And they'll start dissecting them and trying to find out how they work and how they can replicate them as what are they made of. So there's been a thing where it's not just they want to come down, they've had to be careful as well, to come at the right time and to the right people, otherwise they're in danger. So, and they don't want to put us in danger. So there's a very, very fine line of when it's the right time and how it's going to be done.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love this. I could sit here and chat about this all blooming night. I really, really could. It's just my favourite subject.
Me too.
So, but I actually...
The reason why I keep looking down is I've got a whole list, and I was like, what do I talk about next? I was like, so if I apologise if you see my eyes look down, but I'm like, I've got a whole list of things. That's why I'm hoping this won't just be the only week we do this.
Well, I was just about to say, I think we've been about an hour now. So I think what we need to do is wrap this one up, but get everybody to comment if you want us to come back and do more, because I would really like to talk about certain people that have been around President Redcamp, because there's some extremely interesting characters that are around him, and I think that it's something that we should look at. I would also really like to look into a little. I could just do this all night, basically. So if you're open to coming back and having more chats with us, Helen, I would freaking love that. I really, really would. And to everybody watching, if you want to see more of this, if you want us to have more open chats, and maybe if you comment below, we'll answer your questions and things like that in the next one. But please do. I think it's a great spot to wrap up now. What I'm going to do, I am going to share at this point, I'm going to share the 3D to 5D video that I did before, because I actually think that that might help with some of the other things that we've been talking about through. And Helen, I just want to say thank you. It's been amazing doing this chat with you. It really, really has. And I am definitely keen to book in another one, and I'm sure everybody else will, but we'll get them to comment below and just confirm that. If you bear with me 2 secs, babe, I'll stop the recording and then we can chat. All right. Thanks, everyone. Lots of love. Thank you.
Thank you.